Forget everything you think you know about willpower and weight loss. Today, we're diving into a fascinating story that exposes a hidden culprit behind the obesity epidemic, our modern-day eating habits. Buckle up because we're about to crack the code on effortless weight loss and unveil 3 powerful hacks that will revolutionize your approach to shedding pounds. So what's the secret weapon they possessed? The answer might surprise you. It's all about habits. First up, let's dive into habits. I'm going to draw a comparison between how folks ate back in the 70s versus the 2000s. I picked the 70s because that era was pre-obesity wave. Everyone talks about weight gain or loss being all about sheer willpower. So do we honestly think folks in the 70s were just willpower wizards? Was there some magical dip in willpower that caused this obesity surge? Like, did everyone suddenly lose their mojo for healthy choices? I doubt that big time. I reckon it's more about habits. Look at a map of the US and its obesity stats. Back in 1990, obesity was kind of rare. The heaviest states were at around 10 to 14%. Now let's zoom ahead to 2019. Check out this CDC obesity map. Not a single state falls into that 10 to 14% range anymore. Even the least obese state hits 20%, and many states are deep in the red, pushing close to 30%. How did we end up here? There have been quite a few significant changes in how we chow down. When we check out those big surveys in the US about how folks eat, this chart shows us something interesting. Back in 1977, most Americans were chowing down 3 times a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. No snacking in between, no midnight snacks, that's it. You eat when you eat, and if you're not eating, there's no real reason to snack or grab a cookie or muffin or anything like that. Fast forward to the mid-2000s, and what do we see? People are eating almost 6 times a day, double what they were munching on just 25-30 years ago. So instead of the classic trio of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it's now breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack. When folks are constantly munching, it means they're not giving their bodies a break. The time between meals has been shrinking steadily. This isn't about having strong willpower, it's about our eating habits. And I reckon this has a big role to play in why there's an obesity problem. If we want to kick this habit of non-stop eating, we need to get a grip on how habits form and how we can change them. Habits usually have 4 stages. First off is the cue, the thing that kicks off the whole habit. It's what signals to you that you want to eat. So let's say you always snack when you're watching a movie. That's your cue. You start a movie and boom, you want some popcorn. That's the craving. Next, you decide you're going to satisfy that craving, which is the response. You head to the concession stand, get your popcorn, gobble it down, and feel satisfied. That's your reward. And these 4 steps keep looping, reinforcing each other. You get the cue, which triggers the craving, leading to the response, and finally, the reward that reinforces the cue. When folks try to break these habits, they usually focus on steps 2 and 3, between the craving and the response. That's where they think it's all about having enough willpower. So picture this. You're at the movies, craving popcorn like crazy, but you put up a tough front and tell yourself no. Same goes for ice cream, cookies, candy. You resist it all with sheer willpower. Sounds like a Herculean effort, right? And honestly, it's pretty draining and not always successful. But guess what? There's a smarter way to tackle this. Instead of battling the craving head-on, why not nip it in the bud by ditching the trigger? Think about it. What sets off your urge to snack? We've got plenty of cues these days. Like when you plop in front of the TV and suddenly feel the need to munch. Or when you hit the road and instantly crave a snack. Maybe it's those office meetings where there's always a tempting plate of cookies or a candy bowl staring you down. Rather than relying on pure willpower, how about setting some ground rules? No food during meetings, no munching at your desk, no candy bowls, because let's face it, not everyone is trying to shed pounds, and it's unfair to tempt those who are. Getting rid of the trigger is way easier than trying to fight off the entire craving cycle. But hey, if you do find yourself face to face with that trigger, you can still intervene at the craving stage. Instead of going cold turkey, how about swapping that popcorn craving at the movies for something healthier? Let's say you unwind in front of the TV at night. Instead of reaching for snacks, why not make it a habit? To sip on some soothing green tea or decaf coffee? Find a replacement that satisfies the cue without leading you down the unhealthy snack path. So, let's say you're all about fostering a positive habit like fasting. What's the game plan? This brings me to step number 2. Slot it into your schedule. The idea is to pencil in something else instead of eating to make it smooth sailing. That's your signal. Personally, what I do is swap out lunch for a meeting, a Zoom powwow these days, or something that keeps me too occupied to eat. By the time I'm done, I'm on to the next thing, and eating doesn't even cross my mind. Your signal could be every Monday and Thursday, you've got a team meeting or a stroll planned, anything to break the eating pattern. That's your cue. It sets off the urge to fast, and before you know it, you realize you're not even that hungry because it's all mapped out in your schedule. That's how you turn weight loss into second nature. The action part is the fasting itself. Now, how do you make it less of a hassle? Well, there's a tried and true trick. Team up with others. We usually think of peer pressure as a negative thing, especially with kids feeling pushed to do stuff. But it can work in a positive way too, known as peer support. All right, imagine this scenario. Everyone around you is on a fasting spree, so naturally, you'd feel inclined to join in, right? It becomes a breeze when you're in a big fasting gang, just like how folks used to roll. On the flip side, if no one in your circle is chowing down, well, abstaining becomes a whole lot simpler for you. Now, here's the tricky part. It gets tough when your pals and fam are indulging. The sights, the smells of food being cooked, it's a real challenge. So schedule your fasting and team up with others. And let's talk rewards. Obviously, diving into a dozen donuts after a fast isn't the wisest move. It undoes all the good work. Instead, think outside the food box. Treat yourself to a manicure, grab some flowers, pamper yourself with a massage or a nice long bath. Or maybe pick up a book and lose yourself in it. The key is to plan it out, like designate Mondays as your fasting days, finish up early, treat yourself to a massage or something similar. As you enjoy these rewards, you're reinforcing the cycle, making it smoother each time. Weight loss becomes almost second nature. When you're battling those pesky junk food cravings, there's another trick up your sleeve, which brings us to tip number 3, spoiling your appetite. What does that mean? Well, when you're hungry, every snack seems tempting. So on your regular days, not during fasting, make sure you eat enough. Load up on meats and veggies so that you're less tempted by chips and ice cream post-dinner. It's like what your mom used to say back in the 70s. If you wanted a bedtime snack, she'd tell you to eat more at dinner. That's the secret sauce. When you're full, those treats lose their allure. Remember that time you stuffed yourself at a buffet? That's part of the magic of how folks in the 70s effortlessly kept the pounds at bay. They weren't really aiming to shed pounds. They weren't even paying much attention to what they were munching on. The weight loss industry wasn't a big deal, and hitting the gym wasn't trendy back then. They managed to keep those extra pounds at bay by making weight loss a natural part of life. They adopted the practice of fasting, scheduled it in, and filled up on wholesome, unprocessed food. In this tale, shedding a significant amount of weight came from grasping the body's innate insulin reactions and how crucial they are in weight management. It wasn't just about calories, it was more about hormonal balance than a simple calorie count. By understanding this, you ingrained a routine of fasting for 16 to 20 hours daily. During these fasting periods, you steered clear of foods that trigger a spike in insulin, especially refined carbs, grains, sugars, sweeteners, and starchy veggies. And if you did indulge in these foods, you avoided snacking to keep your appetite intact. I've shared some key insights into behaviors that can make weight loss easier. Stick around till the end for a story and a fasting plan that might just help you shed those extra pounds. Habits play a big role in our weight journey. Back in the 70s, folks weren't battling willpower like we think. It was more about their eating habits. Today, obesity rates have soared because we're constantly munching, snacking 6 times a day instead of sticking to the classic 3 meals. Breaking these habits isn't just about willpower, it's about understanding triggers and making smart swaps. If you want to try fasting, schedule it in and team up with others for support. Reward yourself without diving into junk food, and remember to spoil your appetite with wholesome meals. If you found these tips helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to HealthPros. Keep striving for a healthier you.